What's up guys and welcome to the weekly Q&A. I'm going to start this week with a YouTube question first from Force Within TV, who wants to know my thoughts on the image that Dave Filoni tweeted out about Ahsoka meeting the Bendu, especially the part where he calls her a former Jedi Knight since she left the Order before she was ever knighted. I think it's very interesting because I think the prequels have kind of skewed our ideas of what it really means to be a Jedi. We mostly saw them as generals, and I've talked about how Yoda mentioned that they had kind of lost their way and so on. So while she wasn't officially knighted, I do think she was at least close to the embodiment of a true Jedi Knight. I think that's probably what the Bendu was referring to, and I wouldn't be surprised if Yoda felt the same way. Now, we don't know exactly what happened to her on Malachor, but I see this as more evidence that points towards her being dead, or maybe reincarnated in some kind of new form. That line that Yoda speaks in Return of the Jedi about Luke being the last of the Jedi, that has to remain true. So Ahsoka and Kanan especially can't be in the story at that point, and likely Ezra as well. Bouncing back to Patreon, Austin Justice wants to know about Han's line in The Empire Strikes Back, "I'll see you in hell." Are there any religions in Star Wars that believe in hell? All of Star Wars has been very influenced by archetype, and hell, or the underworld, is very archetypal. So I don't think that there are any religious texts out there within the Star Wars universe that talk about hell. We haven't seen any specific examples, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was some idea of hell that is, I guess, even called hell in the Star Wars galaxy. There's got to be someone out there that believes in the afterlife, and once you get into that discussion, there's almost always a good place and a bad place, and sometimes a place in between, so it wouldn't surprise me. Ben Stoneman asks if there are any notable bands in the Star Wars canon. Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes, they're still canon. Max Rebo's band from Jabba's Palace is still canon. In the Princess Leia comics, we got to see an Alderaanian band called the Melodic Order, and Aftermath Life Debt and Heir to the Jedi also introduced two bands that I had to write down because their names are kind of ridiculous. Aftermath Life Debt had Minlin Whale and the Tam Honil 3, and Heir to the Jedi featured Hako, Drazlip, and the Tootle Fruits. Carter Daniel wants to know how I handle some of the vagueness of the current Star Wars canon timeline. Some of the comics like Lando or Han Solo, or even the book Heir to the Jedi or Weapon of a Jedi, they don't have very specific points in time at which they take place, and I agree, that can be frustrating. I think it was Pablo Hidalgo who said that right now they are being a little intentionally vague just to keep things more flexible, but I wouldn't be surprised if down the line they got kind of official times or points in time so we get a better order and a better understanding of things. For now, I've just been using Wikipedia's timeline of canon media, and I think it's pretty accurate, and I'll link to that in the description. Hat Matter asks if there were any core worlds that opposed the rise of the New Republic because they had the most to benefit from Imperial rule. I think we're going to see exactly that in the story mode of Star Wars Battlefront 2. Iden Versio's homeworld of Vardos is known to be a happily Imperial planet, so I think we're going to get to see what they did, how they responded to the fall of the Empire and the New Republic taking over. Also, Chuck Wendig in his Aftermath trilogy, he left open the possibility of Imperial holdouts kind of throughout the galaxy, so yes, I'm positive that there was some resistance to the New Republic even after the Galactic Civil War. Dason Flores has a non-Star Wars question and asks if I'm ever going to make or appear in a vlog about PubG. I am very much obsessed with that game right now. I play it almost every night. I have played it with Dash Star and Elliot from Battlefront Updates. I actually got a chicken dinner with Dash, so that was fun. I'm never going to put a video about PUBG out on this channel. Maybe on our vlog channel at some point. I tweet about it on occasion just for fun. And also, my group of friends, we just keep kind of gathering anything funny or exciting that happens to us. We're saving those clips, so if I ever put up a compilation, I will tweet it out or something. That's it for patron questions. If you're a patron and you didn't see your question answered here, just head over to Patreon where I left you a written response. If you're not a patron, you can learn more by following the link in the description. Just $1 a month will get you access to extra Star Wars Explained goodies like monthly giveaways or audio commentaries to the films, and the combined donations really go a long way in supporting the channel. Back to YouTube questions. LiMo asks if I think Palpatine threw his fight with Mace Windu, or if Mace Windu legitimately won. I go back and forth on this all the time, and I think the answer is probably somewhere in between. The more you look into it, I guess the question really is, did Palpatine know that Anakin was coming? And I think he probably did. I think he could have foreseen that or something. I mean, he talks about foreseeing things in Return of the Jedi, so I think he expected that Anakin would come. So it is possible that he was just throwing the fight. He for sure was playing up how weak he was, saying like he couldn't hold it any longer, and then the second Mace's hand is gone, he unleashes hell. But I think it really comes down to that one question. But honestly, part of me kind of feels like Mace could have won if Anakin weren't a factor at all. So, like, my answer is yes and no. RML Co. wants to know how the holograms of Jedi Council members work. Like, when they go off on foreign missions, do they just bring life-size hologram chairs for them to sit in so it looks like they're still sitting in the Jedi Council? Like, what's going on? I know this isn't something that we're really supposed to focus in on because it doesn't really matter. It's just one of those storytelling things, but I think it's a great question, and it is something that I have often wondered, especially when you look at, like, where they're looking. Because if you look at Yoda on Kashyyyk, he's watching a little miniature version of the Jedi Council, and yet from their point of view, he's sitting in his chair looking at all of them directly. It's not like he's looking down at the ground. So my best guess at the technology is that the camera is so advanced, or whatever you want to call this camera, it is more reading facial expressions and hand gestures, but then it's displaying an avatar. It's not showing like the exact representation of what they're doing and where they're looking. It's letting the hologram look directly at people instead of down at the ground. Or like if you look at Commander Cody and Palpatine when Palpatine's giving Order 66. Commander Cody's got a tiny Palpatine in his hand and he's looking down at it. Yet from Palpatine's point of view, he's clearly looking at a different spot. So I think it's more a question of just how does this technology work, and we don't really know right now. Mitwit Gaming asks if I think parts of the old animated Clone Wars series could still be canon. Actually, the book Catalyst brought up the Battle of Hypori and describes it exactly as it happened in that series. So the answer to your question is yes, it's possible all these events could be canon still, but we can't assume that until they're actually brought up in a canon story. Captain Quinja wants to know what happened to the surviving pilots of Blue Squadron after the Battle of Scarif. I think the implication of the film is that they all died. Most of them made it down to Scarif's surface, and they're definitely dead. There were a few that didn't make it down, but like I said, I think that we're just meant to see that since Blue Squadron was there for Scarif, and they're not around for the Battle of Yavin, that they were all just wiped out. If there were any survivors, I would expect that they would be few and far between, and they would just be reassigned either to Red or Gold Squadrons, or another squadron on a completely different planet. That's all the time I have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below, or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. I also do a Q&A every Friday on my Anchor station where you can leave call-ins. I will play your question on the air, and then I will personally answer it. So I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to check it out. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.